All right, brothers, we are back at it again. Another Monday evening. That means time with my brothers, and we are going to be talking about what the Holy Spirit has kind of revealed to us from chapter 9. But as always, I'm going to go ahead and open us up in prayer. Then we're going to just jump on in. So, dear Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for allowing us time again to where we can separate, take a pause from our other spheres of influence, from being a husband, from being a brother, from being a father, being an employee, a business owner, and just be able to take time to just be amongst brothers, to be able to just share ideas and concepts and thoughts that were birthed from the Holy Spirit and delivered through us. We ask, Heavenly Father, that you help us as always to be better men when we leave than when we arrive. In the matchless name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. All right, fellas, chapter 9. And I was anticipating this one. Understanding the woman's communication style. I think this is the longest chapter so far. I think on average, most of the time they're around 10 to 12 pages, and this was a little bit longer than that. And man, it did not disappoint. This chapter was absolutely amazing to me. But I'm curious to hear my brothers, man. What did y'all think about it? So, uh, MB, you want to jump us off, man, with the initial thought?
My initial thoughts always come off directly from the book, man. Like I can talk off the brain, man, but I just like to refer off the book. I love that fourth paragraph where it says it's like the third sentence down. It says, "With this knowledge and some patience and forgiveness, females and males who are seeking God's redemptive purpose for their lives can communicate with one another effectively and happily." Perhaps Colossians 3:13 would be guiding principle for us as we deal with differences in communication. Bear with each other and forgive whatever grievances you may have against one another. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. When women and men are considerate with one another, they have the basis on which they can develop the mutual love and respect that is crucial to lasting relationships. One second, one second.
Yeah. He wants some attention. He said, man, you ain't about to get up here with these brothers, man, and neglect me. Better come on now. Stop playing with me.
The little one think he runs something, so he always
Yeah,
bark at something, huh? But he can't stop nothing, so he
right.
it's like you ain't respecting my authority, huh? Like, but yeah. So just going back to that, I love how he broke that down because I feel like that's one of the main issues between man and women is
Yeah,
we literally communicate different. You know
right.
what I'm saying? Our communication styles is totally different, and it's easy. Like I can see later in the book, you was kind of speaking to. It's easy for us to mistake that as ulterior motives or bad motives, but not understanding it's just we think different. Like so, a lot of times as we thinking, we got to always find a way to kind of bridge that gap and come to that other person's side of thinking, so that we can actually have effective communication. If we don't do that, then we gonna always miss, and it's gonna always be issues. Like so, I understand that in my marriage, like it's very important for me to find and reach out to my wife's emotional side. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because
Yeah,
like Mike was saying, I think Michael Farley was saying last week, you can say whatever you want to, but if it ain't appeasing, or a couple weeks ago, if it ain't appeasing to their emotions, they not gonna receive it. Like,
yeah.
no, it's gonna be a conversation you're gonna have to keep having over and over and over and over again until you say it in a way that she can receive it, or a way that
Mm,
she can feel the word that my wife say a lot is safe. I'm emotionally safe. I feel I'm like, okay, let me go and rephrase this again, huh? Like, and it might take five rephrasals, huh, before I get it right, huh? But I'm willing to stay there and be in the moment with her till I do get it right, realizing that I got to communicate in a way that she can receive it. Otherwise, no matter what I say, it's not going to be received properly, and it's going to essentially be an ongoing situation, which men don't like. I realize that as myself, like I really don't like talking about the same stuff over and over again. Like,
mm.
but as a man, as a married man, you gotta do it until you reach that point as where it's satisfying for her. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm learning this, through trial and error. So that's
You made me laugh, man, because I gotta admit, as saved as I am, my weakness is hood movies. I love them black hood movies back in the day, right? Belly and all that stuff, man. Was that off of Belly? Where dude was like, I hate repeating myself. Was that Belly or was it? What was it, man? Come on, Chance. I know you remember. What was it, man? It was something he was like, don't make me repeat myself. It was one of them hood black movies, man.
I don't know the movie, but I know what you're talking about. I feel like it's
Yeah.
a different movie. So,
You may be thinking that. I don't like to repeat myself.
for real, like but as a man, I realize that I don't know if I'm the only one. Maybe I'm on a step stool by myself, but I do not like
No,
to repeat
I'm
myself. Like I don't like have to
yeah,
repeat rephrasing something. But to
yeah.
me, it's
Coach Q, I can see your face.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I in addition to having to repeat myself, which is a pet peeve, it's always being it's also in addition to that being misunderstood. Like I hate it when like I'm not able to connect the point, and it's not necessarily on them. I think it's on me as well. Just like, okay, I'm trying to communicate this and it's frustrating that it's not getting through, but that's one of my biggest pet peeves and one of the ways where I can just throw my hands up and just say, forget it. It's just continually being misunderstood, like not understanding what I'm trying to communicate in these words, man. So I feel you.
and that's what Miles I feel like he's saying to us that it's really on both sides'
Yeah,
responsibility to be able to bridge the gap. Because
yeah.
if you don't know that person's purpose and they don't know your purpose, it's gonna constantly be that back and forth. But let me rest get these dogs together.
I got you. Coach Q, man, I'm glad you're on, man. It's officially a felony, man, whenever you abstain, keep your presence from us, man. So I'm glad to have you
Why,
back,
man? Y'all
man.
all got an anointing.
So what you got, man? What's your initial thought of this chapter?
Well, first of all, fellas, it is good to be back in the presence of brothers. I will say that I did miss you guys. It was not of anything that I've done on my own, but I was traveling back and forth. So no, it's good to spend time with the family as well. So hopefully you guys can take care of it, do some time and get away from your family and spend time with the Lord too.
100%.
Uh, as far as this chapter, because this is chapter 9, right?
Yes, sir. Chapter 9.
Okay, good, good, good. I'm right on track. All right. I think that the key theme was just understanding that women feel things and men think. Of course,
Yeah,
I mean that was repetitive in this chapter,
right.
and trying to understand. Because buyers, I am with you. My wife, we've been married for 20 years. In the last 3 weeks, my wife has brought up the same dadgum instance, knowing full well I can't stand repeating myself. I can't stand it, can't stand it, can't stand it. I say something, I want to be done with. I
Yeah.
don't need to bring up an instance time and time and time and time again. I don't. I, I don't think that way. But there's what I'm realizing, and this is helping out. I should say this ain't really helping out, but it's helping out because it's taking her side, not mine, right? So I'm getting pissed off about that too. But
Yeah.
I'm realizing that there's something emotionally attached to the situation that she hasn't resolved yet.
Super good.
Because she hasn't resolved it, she continues to bring it up. And in my mind, the situation's been done. It happened. I'm over it. I don't need to attach anymore. I don't want to waste my time, energy. But yet, in one conversation, she'll bring up 5 different instances. And I'm like, what the heck did this come from? And I'm like a deer in headlight because I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
And then I get frustrated. So understanding that it's this emotional attachment to every single situation, this is what this chapter has helped me understand because, like he says, women on the other hand tend to think more like a grid than a straight line, and that's sure enough what it is. Because all I can tell her, like, babe, this situation is not linked. Yes, it
Mm,
is. Yes, it is. I'm like, no, it's not. That was 5 years ago, or
mm,
2 weeks ago, or 5 minutes ago. But to her, all of
yeah.
them have the same underlying attachment, and to her, if that attachment is not linked together
Yeah.
as far as making sense, then she won't care. She won't care. It's
Mm,
going to continue to come up. And she even told me the other day, I'm going to continue to bring it up until you understand what it means to me.
mm. It's
I
the
said, okay.
multiverse, man. Everything's connected. Everything's connected. That's good, man. That's good. What you got, Chance? What was your initial thought on this one, brother?
Initial thought, really in the understanding the woman's communication style, it's what it really put me in the mindset of is that God took a part of us out. And so even in the communication, it's an added part that's in the woman way of communicating is going to be beneficial to us. So we're missing some strengths that are hidden in the woman.
Yeah.
And if we take time to slow down and get to know those strengths that they have, now we're even more powerful. To me, like I said, time and time again, this is the cheat code.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
wait a minute,
100.
we're bumping heads. Why? Because we're different. We're different so that we can come together and be better you know and that's the thing that I really got from this chapter, is saying, okay, the woman is communicating, their style is different, but if we can take time to learn that, team up with that, and use it to our advantage, we're going to be we're going to be way much better off, by strategizing and learning what the woman, their communication style, and then being able to learn what our purpose is and how we communicate as well.
100%, man. And Q, nailed it, man. We talk about, it's just that theme. It's continually, repeated throughout the chapter. And you kind of went there too, Chance. And it's funny that Byers was like, I don't like repeat myself, but Dr. Monroe repeated himself a lot in this chapter, but I felt like I needed it because almost every time he brought it back up, he connected it with like a different way to look at it. And it was just like, wow. And I think it was some powerful connections there with just the idea that, man, like we can't fulfill purpose without that other piece. You know what I mean? So that was powerful for me. Afari, man, you always so deep, man, with what you got. What you got to add, man? What's your initial thought?
Yeah, for me, it's on 165. Perhaps the first paragraph, getting to the end. Perhaps Colossians
Yeah,
3:13 would be a good guiding principle for us as we deal with differences in communication. Bear with each other and forgive whatever grievances you may have against one another. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. When women and men are considerate with one another, they have the basis of which they can develop mutual love and respect that is crucial to lasting relationships. And what stands out to me in these two is the first word in that verse, bear, or the first phrase, bear with each other,
yeah,
and then being considerate. Like, I think it's because of the differences, we would always have times where we butt heads, or we don't see eye to eye on the topic, or we approach it very differently, and we think that this is how, like, we are sold on how we are approaching it as a man, or for the women to, like, this is how they strongly feel about something, and so they will stand by it. But I think those who learn to bear with each other. And the unfortunate thing is that most women are forced to bear with their husbands. But
it's good.
on the side of the men, it's like you can have one idea and you stick with it and you never budge, you never consider. It's
Right.
like, this is my way, this is my home, this is my way, like this is how I've always done it. Like, I know this makes sense. And so all these feelings and all of these considerations, it's like if we always find that love and mutual respect and it helps for a lasting, trusting relationship when we're able to be considerate. Like, even if you're being logical, just being considerate about the feelings and to how to bargain with leveraging those feelings and bringing some of those in. I think those were the two main thoughts that stood out to me for as a solution in this case, because I think a lot of the conversation was about framing and understanding what's going on. But
Yeah.
like, I was looking for a solution, and this was what stood out to me, that just be conscious about being considerate. Like, when you think of where there has been a confrontation, or a misunderstanding, just ask yourself, where was I considerate in this? And if you don't find one place in it, that means you are the one who needs to do something about the situation. Like, where have I been considerate in this conversation? you know.
No, that's really good, man. And I agree with you. Byers was hitting that point too, that Colossians 3:13. That stuck out for me as well. I had that underlined because I love it when you do get a solution like early on. It kind of gives you something to where it's like, okay, now we have something to build on. Because the paragraph before that, oh man, he got me like you talking about like building up to a crescendo. He got me asking all those questions. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. I mean, like if this was a sermon, I'd have been like, preach. I'd have been standing up by the time he brought up that last question because he starts off consequently, how should you conduct yourself when you have been created to function differently from others with whom you live and work? I'm like, oh yeah, that's real. Like not only live but also work. Then the next question, how are you to live harmoniously with a husband or wife whom you love, but who processes information and responds in a manner that is totally distinct from the way that you do? And I'm like, oh man, you getting, brother. Keep going. Right. And then how do you make yourself understood? And I'll tell you, that was my weakness, right? That was my pet peeve. You don't understand me, right? How do you make yourself understood? And how do you communicate effectively? Most of all, how do you keep from trying to control another person or driving a wedge between yourself and others because of these differences? And I think, we've been talking about as we learning about the design that God has for women. Unfortunately, women are the ones who primarily carry the burden and absorb the brunt of having to be forced into being adaptive. And they have to be the ones to always be pliable. And the men are like, structure, this is the way it is. And women are like constantly like overlooked and underappreciated. And and unfortunately, that frustration is not just one-sided, but it's two ways. There's a lot of frustration from the man not being able to communicate effectively to the female, and then the female not feeling understood by the male. And there's just a bunch of things there. And I just love that solution that was given early on in this chapter, Colossians 3:13, like what Afari and Byers said, bear with each other, like have patience, and then forgive. And I'm telling you, it just seems like, man, wives be having it's a certain time. I don't know if it's a month or the week, but I feel like when I hear of someone having a disagreement, I just had a disagreement with my wife just the other day, right? And it's just like, man, are all of our women's like all of our wives, do they have each other's number? Is there something in that water? Is it a certain time when the moon is positioned the right way where there's just arguments that come? And it just seems like it's the same thing. But as you start to like unpack some things, you start to pick up themes where it's just like, man, at the end of the day, it comes down to communication, right? It's a difference in what's being communicated, how it's being received. So I feel like this solution was big for me, where it's just like Colossians 3:13. I mean, I gotta like now store that like in my mental, where it's like bear with each other, forgive. And that's just like commonly like what we need. It's like uh I don't know, like a feedback loop where it's just like be patient, forgive, be patient, forgive. And if we can just continue to be masters at that, like our relationships are just going to be more fruitful. What are your thoughts about that? How did that hit you?
I love that word, like, and I'm reading it even when I was giving my initial thoughts. That word "bear" is so powerful in that statement, like,
Yeah,
because really, like, it's speaking to that long suffering, like, because if you really
yeah,
love something, you're gonna suffer with it. If
absolutely.
you really love something, you're gonna stick with it, even when things are rough, because you love it, like,
Yeah,
And if you love your wife, even when you have these moments, it's like, okay, I can't be mad but so long. You know what I'm saying? I can't be
right,
upset about this for so long. I gotta let this go because I love this person. I'm willing to forgive as God forgave me. Like,
right.
So I just feel like that word bear is just like speaks for itself, even before you get into all the other powerful statements within that scripture itself. But the bear alone is like understanding I gotta bear with my wife. I made a commitment to her. So when I had these moments, when we had these disagreements, when we have these misunderstandings, I feel like that's really what the biggest thing is. We
Yes,
misunderstanding each other so
right,
many times, like because
right.
that woman is receiving everything emotionally, you receiving everything in the logical sense. Like
Yeah,
like he said, a man want information, a woman want she want emotionally attachments to stuff. Like
yeah,
like so. I even love like towards the end of the chapter where he was speaking on how the woman was explaining about her being done cooking and the man was asking a question,
yeah,
and she said, "Well, I gotta cook for such
yeah,
and such." And he
right.
like, "What time is the food gonna be ready?" Oh, well, I gotta
Yeah,
put the roast in. Like
yeah.
that's how women explain stuff. Like
I was
and for
cracking
us,
up.
like Right. Then he even
Crack
said
it
that
up.
the dude is clenching his teeth. Like, I
Yeah,
can feel myself in the conversation. I'm like, man, like, I felt like this
yeah.
before. Like, and it's just real life. Like, and it's understanding that those differences, like Chance says, is really a compliment to each other. But we got to be able to bear with each other to be able to see the compliment. Because if we when things get rough or when situations constantly are frustrating you, if you decide, you know what, I'm done, huh? Then you missed out on all the blessings that come along with bearing with somebody, like Chance saying, learning and growing within yourself, because that's those stressors ain't always negative. Like, it's a positive thing for you to start to look at yourself and say, man, like, okay, I'm wrong in this way, and maybe my patience ain't that great, like, and you start to build on those things, and just like anything else, you get a muscle from it, like, you know what I'm saying. You start to be able to handle a little bit more pressure, over time. And I know Q probably got a strong muscle now, huh, for 20 years, but it's something that you got to work through, and you got to understand it's those differences that make the relationship, but at the same time can make it a little bumpy at times,
Yeah,
for
for
lack
sure.
of better words.
Have any of y'all ever had a muscle pull, like a hamstring or a chest muscle or anything like that?
Don't go there, man.
No. The reason why I say that is this. I was at I was in college and I was jumping and my hamstring tore.
Ooh.
Okay. It just tore. It popped in half while I was jumping. And the only way that you can get a muscle to heal again, at least that hamstring muscle to heal again, is time. But the muscle, when it tears, it heals by creating fat between it. And as the
Mm,
muscle gets stronger, that fat goes away. So if you don't get a kneading pin or a rolling pin and roll that muscle, you will have fat between the tissues of the fibers of that muscle.
mm.
So in order for that so I have to go through that. It's 3 months of the worst pain you will ever experience in your life. And I know last chapter you talked about a man can't have a baby, which I appreciate. We sure can. But I'll bring that up because y'all brought up the whole I'll call it nagging is what it feels like, right?
Yeah, right.
We bring up an issue like by you. I asked my wife a simple question today, babe, can you do ABC? Or babe, what is ABC? Well, it's da 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 da. Da. I said, time out, please stop, time out. All I asked for was ABC. Can you
Yeah.
give me ABC? I don't have time for all this. Can you give me ABC? What is a da da da? Babe, no, I'll just talk to you later. I can't. I can't. My mental capacity. I
Yeah.
can't handle it.
Yeah.
But like that nagging piece, that tearing the muscle, man, it's just got to keep getting kneaded out. And as much as I don't want it to, it's a process that I have to go through. That even after 20 years, I'm still being kneaded out, and I don't like it. It's
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. But yeah, so another thing I was gonna say is you brought up the time period of the day when it's like there was an attitude or a feeling. So this is how spirits work. A few weeks ago, when we were driving up to Michigan, my wife and I got into a huge argument. I mean, a huge argument in the car. It's just the two of us in the car, arguing about something stupid. I
Hmm.
don't even know what it was. That's how stupid it was. Something stupid. And we stopped arguing. I got a phone call from a brother from our church. And he says, man, I just got into a huge argument with my wife. And I'm like, yeah, me too. My wife is sitting in the car with me. And I'm like, it's on speakerphone. I was like, me too. And I said something, man, hey, listen. Yeah, he's like,
Wow.
well, da da da. Da. And I was like, you okay with my wife listening to this? He's like, yeah. He's like, well, I don't get how she can da 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 da. Da. I'm like, I totally hear what you're saying, man. I said, me and my wife, we just got into an argument myself. I said, and this is what's going on, and blah blah blah. And then my wife's just sitting there, she's just listening to the whole thing. And I'm like talking because we're transparent with each other.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to Rice last week, and he said, yeah, Saturday, me and my wife got into a huge argument too. I'm like, what? I said, hold on, what day was this? He said Saturday. I said, around what time was this? I was like, oh my gosh. So when you said the moon must hit at a certain time frame, yes, but it's also these spirits in the day and age that we live in. Spirits are quick. Spirits can
Hmm.
move, they sense each other, they can do things, but
Hmm.
it's up to us as men to
Yeah.
still be grounded because all of us was like, you know what, this is horrible. Why am I going through this? And all of
Wow.
us are married men. All of us are different stages in our relationships. All of us have like one guy who's been married for 2 years. Michael, how long has Michael been married? 3 or 4 years?
3 years now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 3 years. And here I am married for 18. And then someone else, another friend of mine, he's just been married for less than a few months. So I was like, man, you know what? At this point in time, every household that's married is probably going through the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But it's also a trick of the enemy to make us think that we are the only ones going through that situation.
Right.
So when I heard that, that was encouraging for me to know that, you know what, we're not alone in these situations. And I think that's one thing that Miles points out too, in a different way, is that there's different ways to handle the situations. And we just need to know that we need to have a community of brothers that we can stick together and call each other, rely on. And
Right.
yes, our communication styles are going to be different from our wives. We're going to struggle with things. They need to have their own network, but at the same time, we still got to understand that yes, we're not emotional, we're logical. We can reinforce it. Yes, you did the right thing. You did the
Right.
right thing. Dude. You did the
Right.
right thing. At the
Right.
same time, it's up to us to go back and mend that bridge with our spouses and our wives.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why there's something like this is so needed because it's just like, you need other men to like, bro, I get it. I went through the same thing. And it's like, it's almost like that Elijah moment where you think you're the only prophet. You the only one holding it down. And it's like, nah, it doesn't matter. Like you said, Q, 18 years in the game, 15 years in the game, 5 months in the game, 5 weeks in the game, doesn't matter. Like you're still going to have an opposition in the game. And it's just a matter of how do you adapt when that opposition comes. Like, what do you do to make sure that you're still keeping the team moving forward? And ultimately, that's what our responsibilities are as husbands, heads of households, right? We're the captains, if you will, of the team. And it's our job to make sure, regardless of what happens, we're moving forward. We may have a disagreement with someone else on the team, a co-captain, if you will. But at the end of the day, if we didn't win a game, we're gonna have to meet with the media and start answering questions, right? I mean, that's just what comes with the crown. You know what I mean? So if we want to be kings, we got to be kings when, it's not that favorable as well. But I love it, man. I feel like this group, man, it's helped me so much because even in ways it causes me to be accountable. I think Byers brought it up where he said that his wife was saying, hey, the way you treat me is going to hinder your relationship with God, right? Like your prayers are not going to be answered. We covered that in like 3 weeks ago in the chapter we were reading. But even that thought keeps me like on my best A game. You know what I mean? Like when I want to just like, wait a minute, she getting slick, man. I'm gonna have to just hit her one time in the gut with just something slick back. You know what I mean? It keeps me from like doing that because I realize at the end of the day, I'm on this journey with my brothers and we're all moving in the right direction. And even though they may not necessarily know that I was slick, like in my heart, I'm like, man, I felt like I let the group down. You know what I mean? And y'all may not even know anything that's going on, but just because we're moving in the same direction, we are like-minded trying to grow. I feel like it's my responsibility to be my best as best as I can present the best version of me. You know what I'm saying? So, man, I'm telling you, Fridays and Saturday nights, we just got to watch out. We just got to pray for each other. It seems like those are the nights that that arguments occur, Friday and Saturday nights. For real, for real. But I tell you one other part that got me, brothers, was on page 170. Um, it said that first paragraph in the middle. It says, since a female is an emotional feeler, she is generally led or motivated by her emotions, even though she also thinks. Yet a male is led or motivated by his thinking because of his leadership and provider responsibilities. Then I kind of picked up that next paragraph. There are times when a woman isn't feeling what a man is thinking, and when a man isn't thinking what a woman is feeling. Oh man, this was big because our last argument was something that my wife wanted me to feel and I felt like she wasn't considering like what I was thinking. I felt like I put a lot of thinking energy into like what I was doing, but I felt like she wasn't picking up on that. And then I wasn't really thinking about what she was feeling. And one of my favorite things I like to say, and I got to get better at this because sometimes I think I use it as a crutch, but I'll tell her, it's like, listen, I like it when you give me what I need, you give me information, but I don't like it when you put too much sauce on it. 'Cause my wife can bring the hot sauce sometimes. And I'm like, hey, too much sauce. And that's my word. That's almost like my safe word of I'm withdrawing too much sauce. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes I gotta admit, I overuse that sometimes, right? So I was kind of like overusing a little bit because I really wanted to withdraw from this conversation. But at the end of the day, when I read this, man, it was almost just like, you know how you watch that movie and they, when it's almost like a who done it, like you're putting the pieces together and all of a sudden you get this epiphany of, oh man, like that was it. That's what I got in that moment. Like, man, like it was almost like a flashback, like reading this thing, like, oh man, I kind of dropped the ball on that one. You know what I mean? She wanted me to understand what she was feeling, and I missed it in the moment. And I used my crutch of, hey, you bringing too much sauce. Like we can come back and talk to this when you cool down a little bit. But I'm realizing that like sometimes you just got to sit in it. You got to get sauced up. You know what I mean? You got to let them throw the sauce on you and just get in the moment and feel what they're feeling. And it's not necessarily for us to respond, it's just for us to be able to say, okay, I hear you. And even though I got some stuff rising up in me because of the way you coming at me, I at least can kind of better understand what you're feeling. So that for me was huge, brothers. Curious, did y'all run in? Q, I see you off mute, man. What you got, man? You got something?
Well, when you talked about that sauce, you made me think about Nickelodeon growing up as a kid. I don't know about you all. Some of you guys might be too young to remember this, but there were certain shows on Nickelodeon that when they would have an episode or something like that, and out of nowhere, you would get slimed.
Yeah,
You would get slimed, and there's nothing you could do about it. You just got to sit there and take it. That's what you made me think of. Talking about getting sauce because situations. I imagine that conversation came out of nowhere too.
yeah.
You just
Oh,
like, mind your
100%.
business.
Watching the game,
Yes.
just
What the
minding my
heck?
business. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, can anybody else relate to that? I mean, y'all got anything? Again, it doesn't have to be significant others. It could be, sisters, mothers. What you got,
Oh
Byers?
yeah, just in general, women have a way of, like you said, putting that extra sauce on it. Huh?
Yeah, man. Extra
Like you,
sauce.
you like, man, like where did all this come from? Like how Q was saying, like it can be like something so small, and that it's like something that feel like it's so big and dire. Like you
Yeah.
like, where did all this come from? Like like, but that's just the woman and the emotions and the fact that, like he was saying, they don't always come out right then and there. That it can be like a pent up
Yeah.
like a rocket, like a pent up rocket, and then out of nowhere it just explode, and you like, what is all this? Like like you really confused. Like we done did all this, we had a great time, we had a
Yeah.
great day.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden this, like,
Yeah.
and you just confused, but at the same time you understand that it's for your own good sometimes. Like you said, sometimes you got to be willing to sit in it. Like, and I feel
Yeah.
like that's a hard thing. Like, and it's a
Hard,
thing
man.
you have to learn. Like, and that's
Hard.
what I'm learning more than anything. Like, sometimes you just got to hear her out. Like, because really, that's what a
Yeah.
woman wants you to do. She just wants you to hear her out
Right.
and then come with emotional support. So, like, Miles even spoke to it. He like, man, instead of trying to come with a solution, because that's what I always want to do. I want to give a
Right.
solution so we can be done with this
Get
and we can
over.
move forward.
Yeah.
Like,
On
but
it.
really, what he's saying is like, don't come with no solution. Just
Yeah.
hear her out,
Right.
let her know you understand her, and then give her a hug. And by that, now she feels comforted.
Yeah.
Then you can get a solution. Like,
Yeah,
but
man.
if you don't first comfort that immediate emotional need, you're never gonna be able to get to the point of a solution.
That's
Like
good,
Q
man.
said, until that emotional need is filled, it's going to be a constant reoccurring situation over and over and over and over again. So you better off just going ahead and understand it. Like, let me just find a way to feel this emotion and feel her on her level so we can go ahead and get past it. Otherwise,
Mm.
it's going to be something that's going to be like a tick on your back or a fly that won't leave you alone. You try to get it off, but it just keep coming back. You like, man, like,
Yeah.
all right, so I know all about it, man. I know
Nah,
all
man,
about
that's
it,
that's
man.
some high level Jedi stuff right there, man. I think we learning like Chance been saying week after week. This is a cheat code, man. Like we learning some real awesome stuff that's going to help us be better husbands, better men, like in all of our roles and all of our spheres of influence, just dealing and knowing how to communicate with not just other men, but just other females. And to your point, Byers, you went there, man. That was on page 173. And that second to the last paragraph on that chapter, but it talks about, it said, um, the woman first needs emotional contact with him so that she can be emotionally stabilized. So to your point, Byers, man, that caused me to really just understand that like what my wife is needing in those moments when she's bringing a sauce is emotional stabilization. You know what I mean? She needs like that physical touch to let her know that I'm there. I'm physically standing there, like having her, breathe all the fire that she's like, I'm a referee listening to a head coach telling me that should have been an offensive foul or something. You know what I mean? Like, this is me just sitting here taking it. And it's just like, I'm still here. Like, that speaks to something. You know what I mean? Byers, because you, in your background dealing with people who are, have challenges, behavioral challenges, how you said, hey man, you've had to take some abuse, sometimes physical, but they need to know that they can't do something to just make it seem like, oh man, he's just another person. He's gone. You got to let them know that you're there. And I feel like sometimes we got to take what feels like emotional abuse just so we could be in a position to emotionally bring emotional stabilization. To me, that was a big aha, big epiphany. We're just like, okay, to your point, I don't need to fix it. I just need to absorb what she's got going on and then just still be here so that we can move on. So
Yeah, I
big
feel like
thing.
this weekend, I feel like this weekend my wife dropped the gym and like it was something that I heard and I received it immediately like because she was like sometimes I may react in the wrong way like and understanding that because women are reacting emotionally they probably will react in the wrong way sometimes like but
100%.
really she like I just need you to be the leader that you are and sometimes take it and do the right react in the right way opposite of me instead of reacting in the same way I am. And then what's gonna happen is eventually I'll come back and realize I'm wrong and I'll want to apologize. Like, and I'm like, man, that's a lot of weight to take, but at the same time, it's something that we have to do as men. Like we have to understand that she's gonna react about 90% of the time
Oh,
emotionally. Like, and sometimes it's like it's uncalled for. You just
oh,
like you really confused, like, why is she doing this? Like, why is it even to this level? Like, but if
oh,
we meet her there,
yeah,
we not gonna never be able to let her see herself and where she's wrong. Like, but
right.
if you don't meet her there, now she get a chance to have to look back at herself and like, man, like he reacted in the right way. And
Hmm.
now I look foolish, and she gonna come back and she gonna do extra to make sure that that you the king, like what I'm saying, you
Man,
her king, like because you're not meeting her at her level, like, and
right.
that it's not. And I was like, okay, and I hit her. I know we both co-leaders here, like
Yeah,
like I might be the leader, but we both leading together, like. But she's
yeah,
like, I just need you to do that, and I'm like, okay, I understand, like, because I'm like, man, like if I meet her every time where she's at,
yeah.
I can never help her to get to that next level of realizing that it's not necessary
Ooh,
to react in this matter. So I gotta stop meeting her where
man,
she at, and I gotta start realizing that she's reacting in a way that's emotional.
yeah,
Let me just be logical and realize that understand where she's coming from. Like that's what
mm,
Miles said. You got to understand why they doing it. Like
yeah,
understand where she's coming from and don't meet her there. And then what's gonna happen is she's gonna course correct herself. Like and then at the end of the day, we can both be happy because now she realizes like maybe I didn't need to react like that, or
right,
babe loved me, like
right.
because like right then and there, you didn't meet her where she at, so she know that she's loved, like
Yeah,
like, and that's what women looking for, like. And I feel like when she gave me that, I'm like, man, like I had to go clean up and just sit in it, like what I'm saying.
yeah,
I'm like, man, like okay, I'm like that's what she asking for, like
yeah,
like she did all this just to get to that point,
yeah,
like so. Yeah.
yeah, man. Byron said, man, we gotta just hit that weight, man. Put on the 600 pound squats like Saquon, man. Just get it in. What you got, Afari?
Yeah, I've also realized recently that it's acknowledging or calling the emotion and following up with the reason or the logic really helps.
Hmm.
Really, really helps. Now, hear me out. It's like I see that you're feeling embarrassed because of this, or like
Yeah.
I I can tell that you're a little bit defensive, or did I make you uncomfortable, or like do you need like do you feel afraid about this?
Yeah.
It's like something is going on, they're telling you, they're feeling a lot of things. Just try to use the adjective for the feeling.
Hmm.
And if you hit it right, then the logic will start to make sense. It's because they feel like you're communicating, like you're getting them, or
Yeah.
you're getting where what they are saying. Because a lot of times I started with this, like, how do you feel about this?
Hmm.
They never say the feelings. Emily will never tell you what the feeling, like she would say, I feel like proud or sad or whatever it is, but they'll say a lot of things and they'll feel the thing along with it. But if you are able to acknowledge that, oh, this is maybe feeling neglected or feel, and there are a lot of adjectives like
Yeah.
you're feeling proud about
Right.
this experience, like you're feeling happy.
Yeah.
I and I'm like, I'm very grateful for my grade one, grade two classes where they taught us adjectives about feelings and all of that. Because now you get to like try to recognize them in experiences, try to recognize them in what's going on. And I've realized that like that is when they feel heard. Like if you can't tell what the emotion is in the moment, if you can't decipher from the 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs of explanation that they just feel tired, like, and it might look like the book even said it that, oh, they might be talking about a lot of things, but they might just be feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
The moment you say, oh, I can tell you're overwhelmed,
Mm.
you give a hug, then the logic can start to make sense because we've gone
Yeah.
past what they are trying to say
That's
and
really
you've
good.
heard it. But I think that for us men, like, and I'm still trying to practice this more. I always hear the problem and then I'm trying to provide the solution without acknowledging the feeling that is being communicated to me. And I think that's a big part of communication as well, because if if you're a man and you are giving speeches or you're selling a product or whatever it is, and you're able to communicate a feeling along with the logic, even if it's a sense of association, pride, or whatever with the product or quality, like just having something good, if you're able to have that underlying feeling go with the message, I think that makes a very strong communication. It goes back to what we're saying about like it's a chance we're saying about it's like we complement each other. It's a
Yeah.
part of the whole message. And I think we overestimate how powerful logic is
Mm.
when we don't add those acknowledgments of feelings and then also communicate what we are feeling. Because
Yeah.
for me, a lot of times, flat toned voice or
Yeah.
like very straightforward to the point. But I'm also feeling certain things, and it gets you through when you say, honestly, this thing is making me feel like unsure about this, or I'm feeling like this is disrespected by this. That word is what they would hear for a
Yeah.
lot. And then the whole logic will be packaged in that word that
Yeah.
if I don't do this, like it's a sense of disrespect, and this is why. And so I think we can just use more of that, identify more emotions, and just say them along with whatever situation that is going. And you can get them wrong. And sometimes
Right.
I've
Right.
realized that I might think that, oh, she's feeling tired, but rather she's actually feeling like bored
Yeah.
about something. So
Yeah.
I think they would help you when you try to acknowledge that as well. So I think that helps with communication.
Man, Far, that's so powerful, man, because I remember that takes me back to when I was a escalations manager at a call center. I felt like I ended up getting like a master's degree in psychology, the type of training that we got. And you're right, that brings me back to that. I didn't connect that until just now because my job was to like de-escalate like people who were like overly emotional with what's going on. I didn't have the ability to use like right my body language and like cues. So I had to use tonality, right? And had to use like just different things and labeling. That was a tactical thing that they taught us how to do. Labeling is so huge because, like you said, Afar, even if you get it wrong, the fact that you attempt it, you know what I mean? Like they will correct you. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it seems like you're frustrated. Nah, I'm not frustrated, but they'll come down and actually tell you the logical, part on it, man. That was a beautiful connection there, Fari. And I love how you talked about practicing it because it is. I mean, like we have to look at it like, man, we need to sometimes we gotta play counselor to our wives. Sometimes we gotta play psychiatrist and we have to almost go at it like it's a practice. Like, how can I maintain the level of kingship and minister to my wife in this moment without taking off my crown and lowering, to a lower level that I'm not called to. You know what I'm saying? So powerful. Byers, I see you unmuted, bro. I know you got some fire, but Chance, I saw you, man. What you got, brother?
Um, so really, I was just double clicking on what Mike was saying about listening sometimes, and then also more so not reacting but responding. And what I came up with is my strategy is, and this is what I told my wife Dominica. I said, look, in an argument or a strong conversation, right? There's two roles. One person is the aggressor. One person says, hey, this is wrong. This you're not going to do me like this, or it's not going down like this, and this is unacceptable. Now, typically the other person is like, oh, I didn't know I did that. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Now, if you got one person that is hot, it is the other person's responsibility
Mm,
to calm it down.
mm,
You see, okay, wife is hot. Hey, okay, I understand. Now, if my wife is hot, I have now to get in the calm mode, remain calm. I'm already calm. You caught me off guard.
yeah,
I cannot react now. I
right,
have to stay calm,
right,
reduce the tension, and
right.
now it's my responsibility, as you were saying,
Ooh,
Mike, as the leader, right? As the leader, I set the tone as well and say, okay, I'm not going to match you now. I'm not going
right,
to go blow to blow and show you, hey,
right,
give you a piece of my mind. Now
right.
you got a huge explosion. Now you got what? You got weeks and weeks and weeks, right? Like my man Miles said, the woman, is a womb. So now
Yeah,
you're just planting seeds in the womb,
right.
and now you're setting yourself up. If you don't get it then, it's coming back to you
Mm,
eventually.
you now you
So you
speaking.
gotta know when the woman is coming to you with that heat.
Yeah,
Hey, let's
yeah.
whoa. I understand what you're saying, and we're playing roles. And this is what same thing I told Dominica too. Hey, if I'm upset, you got to be the one that drops the anchor and say, okay, hold on now. So that's just a portion I wanted to share.
That's so fire, man. That's so good, man. All right, what you got, brother?
So I was just hopping off of Mike Fari, so I feel like we all catch a revelation from each other and stuff
Man,
we
I'm
did.
telling
So
you,
so
telling you.
what he's saying is validation. Like that's what a woman is all about.
Mm,
Validation. If you
mm,
don't validate their feelings, you're in for trouble. Huh? Like
mm.
so validation is the key. And one thing, if you ask a woman how she's feeling, you already gotta be prepared for at least 30 minutes. Like so once you ask that question,
Clear your
you
schedule.
know your schedule needs to be clear. 30 minutes, son. Don't ask
Never
how
get an adjective for
yeah,
how you feel. It's always a story.
and not be ready to sit there and take how she feels. Huh? Like that's one
100.
thing I'm realizing too. Like if I ask how you feel, because that's the question I asked a lot of times.
Yeah,
And sometimes I wasn't prepared for the time that it had to take to get through this feeling. Like,
yeah,
and now I'm like just listening to Mike. If I ask how you feel, I need to know that for however long it takes for you to express this feeling, I need to be locked in, like Tan said,
yeah,
be that calm person, that
yeah.
person that just hearing and listening. Now it's hard for a man just sitting there for 30
Right,
minutes and just hear about feelings. Like, but
right.
we have to once we ask that question, because we are trying to get to the bottom of what's going on. We are trying to show our wife that we love her. We
Yeah,
are trying to show her that we are invested and care about her feelings. Like, but once you ask that question, brothers, we gotta be prepared to have our schedule open for however long it takes to get through that feeling. Like,
And I think men too, sometimes we don't say how we feel. Even if it's like a
yeah,
small feeling of something, I think throwing that in is going to help the conversation. And it's really hard because you have the logic figured out and the feelings might just get in the way. So you're being composed, you're being the leader, but it's like sometimes too it escalates the issue because if you're very calm but you say, oh, I'm feeling a bit annoyed by this, oh my goodness,
yeah,
you're in for a whole like you're escalating the issue at that point. But I think it's a sense of vulnerability that you also communicate what you're feeling, you bring it to the table, and then it makes you also because otherwise you would withdraw. You might be present, but you might withdraw from the situation, and then they just need so much more to get through to you, like try to say more, to feel more. And then, but once you bring what you're feeling to the table, goodwill, very clear, they remember that you felt this way about this situation. Yeah.
well, Mike, I'm just gonna say this: don't bring up how you feel while the situation is going on with her feelings. Let her feelings be exclusive.
that's
Wait
a good point.
bring up your feelings. I've learned this. Like Because
Yeah.
I'm like how you were saying, we don't really talk about our feelings,
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
But sometimes when we in heat of
Man,
going
so
back and
good.
forth, it's the time I want to bring out my feelings. But I realize it doesn't help ever. Like if I bring up my feelings in a moment of she's speaking on her feelings, all it does, like you said, is ignite the situation. Now it's a fire now. Like like so if we
Yeah.
gonna bring up our feelings, we gotta make sure to not do it in the moment of why she's expressing herself.
Man.
Wait until maybe later in the day and then come with your feelings. Like so now it's not the one thing me and my wife say, we focus on one point at a time. Like
Yeah.
so when a woman is in her feelings, you can't then bring up, oh, I feel this way,
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
feel that way. Now she like, what?
Man.
Like, and it's a whole nother issue. Like, so you better off really if you want to express your feelings, like you said, if you want her to be able to feel you as well, don't do it while she's doing it. Huh? Like I've learned that like that's one thing I've learned the hard way. Like if I got a feeling about something, I cannot do it while she's in the midst of her feelings. It has to be
Right.
exclusive to her feelings. Like because soon, like with women, that's they don't feel validated once you do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's just the key that I've learned. Like,
Man, I tell you, I absolutely love this, brothers, because Afar, you just blessed me, man, with what you said about the labeling thing. You brought me back. Chance, man, that aggressor, even the woman having to play the role of the person calming down, that was like a paradigm shift. So I'm gonna call on my brothers one more time. I need each one of y'all, if y'all would be so kind to give me something tactical. Because one thing I struggle with, and to your point, buyers, my one thing I struggle with is when I have to have in my mind a crucial conversation. I'm struggling in terms of how to initiate that. And I've, to your point, Byers, I've fallen victim to that, is thinking that, okay, now it's argument time. So let me go ahead and get this out so we can get past it. And then now we can go back to living life. And I've learned, like you, Byers, that that's not the right way to do it. So at other times I've tried to be like, okay, well, hey, you good to have a conversation now? I've said it, and that still was the wrong time. So tactically, hearing from all four of you, and Paul, if you're on too, man, you as well. What are some strategies, some tactics that you guys do to have or to schedule like crucial conversations with your wife when you're the one who's bringing the, offense, when you're the plaintiff, if you will. So if you brothers can bless me with that one, man, let me know your perspectives. What are some things you do, man, to initiate those crucial conversations you got to have?
my thing is, I gotta write down everything, huh? I gotta write my feelings down because I'll forget my feelings. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like over time, because I'm not a person that like to sit in
Yeah.
emotion for a long time. Like once
Hmm.
I feel the feeling, I want to really let it go. Like, but
Okay.
one thing because me and my wife, we do therapy. We've been doing it ever since we've been married. Like. And one thing the therapist said is like, make sure you can present your information like I said, exclusive to their information. Like so, as a man, we don't want to
Mhm.
hold on to a lot of emotion. Once we pass it, we don't really move
Yeah.
past it. But I learned to start writing down how I feel. So
Yeah.
then, when it is that scheduled time, and okay, it's my turn to state how I feel, then I can speak on how I feel and not infringe on her feelings to where she feels
Mm,
like she got to be defensive. Like so,
that's
like what
super
Chan's
good.
saying, like understanding that I want to express how I feel because it's important to me. Because if my feelings aren't met either, then it can bring resentment. This is what we was learning about in the comedy show the other day. But I want to express my feelings, but at the same time, for me to be able to do that, I can't sit and think about it for a long time. So I'll just write it down, and then when there's
That's
an
real good,
opportunity to
man.
have a safe space to be able to say, okay, no, you feel like, how do you feel? Like when your wife finally asks you that, how do you feel? You can go ahead and express those feelings, and she'll receive it because now she's in a position to receive. Like Miles is saying, like so when she's in a position to receive, she's gonna find a way to make it right. Like because one thing a woman don't want to do, they don't want to annoy you. Like they don't want to stress you out. It's just sometimes they naturally do it. Like, but once they start to realize that, okay, you do got feelings, and they'll be a little bit more careful on how they step to certain things. I feel like.
Man, spitting, man. Wisdom, unending right there, man. That's some good stuff, man. What else y'all got? What you got, Chance? How you gonna help me, man?
So I would say if you're going into having an unpleasant conversation, it's going to be a somewhat tough. The one main strategy that I've been learning is my tone, right? I'm coming in with a soft tone because the moment you start rising your voice and getting excited and showing now the excitement there, right? If it's anger or whatever, right? Now the other person has the right to say, oh, wait a minute. that tone, the way you're coming at me, and
Yeah.
now everything is lost. So
Yeah.
you have to have a strategy of, okay, this is just talking. We're talking, and not take it personal. Even though whatever happened or situation happened has hurt you, I cannot fire off the hurt back to you now. So I'm saying what I need to say in a relaxed tone. So now you can really hear what I have to say. Because a lot of times I feel the females, they will run from the conversation with the scapegoat, your tone or how you're coming to me.
Yeah.
If you don't give that scapegoat, I'm talking to you respectfully in a nice tone, in a nice manner. My body posture,
Yeah.
is good for you.
Yeah.
Now, hey, I'm talking to you the right way now. You're gonna have this is something we need to do here. You can't bark off and say, "Oh, you're disrespecting me. You this and that." No, no, no.
Yeah.
We got to talk it out now. And I think when you do that, you have a good chance
Yeah.
of getting your point across. And then the second thing I think too, a lot of times, you know, what we're really upset about is really not that big. You
Ooh, now you
know,
hurt my feelings, bro. Why you gotta go there? Why you
you know,
call me out?
the truth of the matter is, and for me too, you know, a lot of times I'm passionate. I'm like, no, there's no way this is going down like this. Unacceptable, you know. But if I say, okay, let a day go by,
Yeah.
let some hours go by, let
Yeah.
2 days go by.
Yeah.
Once I circle back around, is this the worst thing ever now? Or hey, you know what? It's cool and it's not that serious, you know. So those two strategies, I would say.
Woo. See, man, you open yourself up. Sometimes you gotta get cut. You know, all cuts aren't harmful, man. Some of them are there to help you, man. So I appreciate that cut, Chance. You're right, man. Some stuff just ain't even worth it. One day it'll probably be gone. Q, man, the longest tenure husband here, man. What you got to help me with this one, man? Crucial conversations. What do you do to set that up?
So funny because Rice asked the same question the other
Really?
day.
Where's Rice
Yeah, he
at,
asked
man?
the
We're gonna
same
have
question.
to
I don't
jump
know.
on him,
He,
man.
he's been dealing with. He said going to get back on his calls because his wife's situation was mellowing down and
Okay.
he's going to be on it. So whenever he gets on, he gets on here. But I agree with what Byers and Chance say. Tone is big.
Yeah.
Writing stuff down is big. If you can write stuff down, I know me, I hate writing stuff down unless I'm taking notes on a book or something like that or a sermon. But otherwise, I just try to keep anything. But I try for me writing stuff down uh, tends to hurt the moment because I recall too much information and emotion attached to the situation. So
Mm,
that's just for me. I don't know how you fellas are. That's just for me. So
yeah.
I tend not to because I want to stick to the facts of the situation. I know she's emotional and everything like that. But for me, stick with the facts of the information, and that helps us to get over the situation. To me, but that's our relationship. That's not y'all's. Okay.
Right.
But I say the number one thing that we do is we've already identified what our hot topics are. So we know what can burn each other up in a heartbeat. So when it comes to those three, four, five, six topics, whatever it may be, we always find a neutral place to go to, public place to go to.
Mm,
That way there's no mudslinging. Okay.
okay.
Because at home, you can say anything you want to say,
Yeah. Yeah.
however you want to say it,
Yeah.
be just as disrespectful as you want to be, and think that it's okay.
Right.
But in public, you tend to have a mindset to be more cognizant and want to respect your queen or your king. So you will not allow yourself to be unruly in that way. You may get pissed off. You may want to raise your voice, but then you realize you like, listen, I'm in public.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that we always do. And then also, I like what he has in here. Let the peace of Christ rule.
Yeah.
Whenever you get into these mindsets or moments that you have to adjust it, are what is the motivation behind it? Are you trying to achieve something for you because your feelings were hurt? Or are you trying to
Mm,
achieve something for you because it promotes the kingdom of God? And that's one thing that I have to tell myself. I tell
ouch.
my wife all the time.
Ouch.
I said, don't address me as a man, just the God in me. And I tell her, I don't want to address the one. I said, I have to treat you like a woman of God.
Mm,
So even though I may come off as someone that not wants to, I said, I got to deal with all the words that I say to you, all
Yeah.
the things I think about you. I have to deal with all that. So I need to let the peace of Christ rule in me. And I tell her that when she gets pissed off sometimes, and it's a topic that I brought up because I wanted to discuss it, but she ain't handling it the way that I thought that she should handle it.
That's
I
it.
gotta tell myself, you know what, God? Hey, this is your child. Help me
Mm,
deal with me
mm.
because that's what's most important. She can act however she wants to, but it's up to me. That's what I gotta speak to that at the end of the day.
That's so good, man. Whew, y'all helping me. Afari, man, you've been married the least, man, but you got so much wisdom, man. What you got, man? How can you help me, man? How can you help me?
Yeah, I don't know if this works well, but I'll share it anyways. So I try to almost like I'm communicating why I love her by correcting her in this way or communicating why I feel this way about it. It's like how do I wrap this? What's the sandwich that I'm putting this in? Okay, so look, you know I love you. You know, like we are in this together. Like those, like Mike was saying, it's validations and assurances and
Yeah.
clear communication that this doesn't make us enemies or anything, but like we are working towards a goal so that we can be on the same page. This offends me and it takes me further away from that goal that we have of
Mhm.
being on the same page. It's like just driving it home that it's not just about me trying to feel good, but it's like it helps us be on the same page and me express my love to you well. So I don't know, it doesn't always feel practical, but that's what I've been trying. And that's what I think
Has it been working?
communicates well. Yeah.
It's
And
been working
so,
for you?
yeah,
Okay.
I
Nah, I like it.
sometimes I struggle to organize it that way because it's truly
Yeah.
about how I feel and
Yeah.
how upset I am.
Yeah.
But then I'm communicating it because I actually do want to get past it and like make sure she knows that it bothers me and it affects the way I might also feel or react or um yeah, all of that. So I think I just try to wrap it not just in, hey, you're wrong, you should know this, and you should work on it, but like it plays a part in how much we are on the same page, how much we are. And I still love you anyways, but this this bothers this bothers me. So I just try to intersperse it with as much reassurance or clarity that
Mm,
it doesn't change anything.
that's good.
And yeah, it kind of changes the tone, like Chance was saying. Yeah.
I could see that. I could see that working for my wife for sure, man. You ever playing chess, boy? Other people playing checkers, man. That's some high level stuff right there. I love it. What you got, Byers?
I was just coming off of Mike. Mike said, "Wrap it in love and butter the
Yeah,
biscuit before you go ahead and put it in the oven." Huh? Like like
100%. What you got, Chance? You got something to add to that, man?
Well, I was going to say, I was just thinking here, like, to Mike and Mike, y'all two, I think, have been married the shortest amount of time. But really, y'all two really have something of a superpower as
Oh
well
yeah,
here
100%.
because it's really important on how you start something.
Yeah.
Is
Oh,
how you're going to be
fire,
able to maximize the situation,
fire.
right?
Yes.
And that's exactly what y'all are doing. Y'all are getting strengthened, the right direction, the right strategy, and it's like saying, okay, you could have 5 years, 10 years of a marriage, but if that 10 years has been horrible, disrespecting one another,
Yeah.
cussing each other out,
Yeah.
is you could pick up the book now is you could learn a lot, but
Yeah.
now you already have so much damage control and different things of that
Mm,
sort versus y'all two
yeah.
starting out fresh.
Yeah.
You're starting out, right there at the beginning line, and now, success is right there for y'all. So, I just wanted to say that to y'all. Y'all, I definitely, y'all definitely are in a great, great spot,
Yeah.
and so the rest of us too. We're all learning and growing. So, power to you, brothers.
100% chance. I agree with you, man. I tell both of them that as frequently as I can, man. Especially buyers, you talking about y'all still going to counseling, post-marital. A lot of people do pre-marital, but y'all still going. That's amazing. So all these resources with mentors, therapy, we're reading a book. You got your brothers here with this. You got other brothers that you have in other spheres. I mean, like, I just love the resources, man, that God has given the two of you to really help to assure that you have lasting, fulfilling marriages that really become the model of how to do things, man. Because that's one thing that always burdens my soul, man. I'm such a champion for marriages, and it saddens me, both in the church and out of the church, how the divorce rate is just so high. And I just think it's really because, just being ill-equipped. I mean, Dr. Monroe talked about that. People get out of one relationship going to another and thinking that it's going to be different, but you haven't really dealt with some of the communication issues that really were the foundation of kind of some of the issues that you ran up against. But speaking of run up against it, let's get into the final thought, brothers. Final thought of the chapter, man. Before we get into it, Far, you want to start us off, man? What's your final thought?
I'll pass.
You you
I'm
coming
good.
back to you, or you don't have a final thought?
Maybe not, but
Okay. All right. What you got, Chance? What's your final thought, brother?
Uh, so what came to me was the area in 171
Hmm.
that it talks about while Pilate was sitting on the judge seat,
Oh,
his
that was so
wife
good,
sent
man.
him this message:
Yeah.
don't have anything to do with that innocent man.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of times, we as men, we really think we got all the right answers. And I was just thinking about that, naturally, it's probably good to think I have the right answers. I don't want to think I have the wrong answers.
Right.
So naturally, I think I have the right answers, but then I've got to take some time and pull back too.
Yeah.
When I have my wife's advice, I got to be able to say, okay, hold on now. I actually have two brains here. I have my brain and your brain. And so now it's very important, even though I think I'm right all the time, let me take some time, slow down, and as the story goes, we don't want to put an innocent man to death here.
Yeah.
We don't want to make the wrong decision, when it comes to it. But if we slow down, listen, hear our wives out, it could save us a lot of trouble and
Yeah.
heartache down the line.
100%.
So that's God's gift to us. So yeah, that's my final thought. Just slow down sometimes, listen up, and not think, hey, I know everything all the time. And that's to me the sign of a good leader as well.
Man, I'm so glad you went there. That was such a man. I remember reading that and just thinking like, wow, that was pretty dope, Dr. Monroe. Bravo. That was amazing that you went there. That was I never would have connected that before. I mean, we never hear anybody talk about Pilot's wife, but that was just beautifully put. I'm glad you went there, Chance. Bars, you got a final thought for us, man?
My final thought is in that second to last paragraph on 180. And it was said Jesus understood people thoroughly, and he also knew who he was. Understanding the nature of others and yourself is crucial to maintaining right relationship and not falling prey to selfishness, pride, resentment, or bitterness, which sow seeds of conflict with others. So, like, literally understanding what you up against, understanding that person, understanding your wife and what makes her tick. Like you were saying, they've expressed and talked about what are those things that's gonna get us hot. So if we getting hot, like that's what the therapist told us. They said that's what the therapist told us. She like, if y'all get in a situation where y'all know it's gonna be a heated situation, go in public. Because now you gotta act right. Like you ain't gonna embarrass yourself and you ain't gonna embarrass that person. Like so like
Right.
understanding, that person's nature, understanding who they are. Like, and they were saying like Jesus, he really understood the people he was dealing with. Like that's why you never seen him have an issue with nobody, huh? Like
Mm,
he even understood when the woman was caught in adultery, all the people in their weakness, and he
that's
just
good,
used
man.
their weakness to make shut everybody up. Everybody
Yeah.
had nothing to say no more, and it was all about his posture. Like he literally could have went in on them, like he could have, had them all. He could have killed them all right then and there, for they approach because they was doing it out of not the right reasons, not the right spirit, like. But what he did was he just kind of went down and just drew in the sand, and then hit it with something so smooth that they all had to look at each other like, let's get up out of here. Like,
Yeah.
and that's how we got to be with our wives. We got to be real calm. And like Chance is saying, it's about the tone. It's about our posture. It's about the way that we respond. And like I said, my wife clearly told me, like, when I'm wrong, all I need you to do is not respond at the same level I am. Like, what I'm saying? I'm gonna catch that I'm wrong. Like, and then I'm gonna come and make it right. But in those moments when I am wrong or I am overly emotional, I need you to be this, like, and that's
Yeah.
what we got to be for our wives, so that we don't create that resentment. We don't get caught in our own pride and selfishness. Because a lot of times it's like, you ain't gonna talk to me like that.
Honor. Yeah.
That ain't God. That's
Right.
us in our flesh. Like,
Yeah.
like, be prideful with our wives. We cannot be selfish, which is hard because we're human. Like,
Right.
but we cannot come in that manner, because all it's going to do is add to the problems. Like, we can either be a course corrector, we can be a problem solver, or we can be somebody that adds to the problem. And we don't want to add to the fires, because we don't want to go back and forth with our wives. We love them, and it's not no point, like Chance said, in weeks of arguments or years of arguments when it's unnecessary, when you could just nip it in the bud right then and there if we do the right thing in the moment, which is hard, but we can do it. Like,
100%, man. Love that final thought. That's really good. What you got, Q? What's your final thought, brother?
My final thought, it goes back to the let the peace of Christ rule. And when I think about that, peace simply means harmonious conversation.
Mhm.
So let the harmonious conversation of our Savior guide our lives. That's what we're aiming for. That's the only way you can really make it in a relationship, if you have that harmonious conversation, because that's what peace is. And that will help us out. We got our differences and everything like that. We think that on a consistent basis, it'll help us out.
Love it. Love it. Paul, if you're there, man, and you can go on mute and you got a final thought, just hop on in, but I'll go ahead and share mine. Mine was kind of piggybacking a little bit off of what Chan said, man. I love that part where it talked about the woman's insight and discernment. But before that, I think Dr. Monroe did a phenomenal job where he talked about a perfect balance. In that last paragraph of that subsection, there's a sentence in there that said, whatever God drew out of Adam to make Eve, the man needs in order to be complete. And that really just spoke to me, because it's almost like I had like this visual in my mind that like God literally is taking something that was already in Adam, taking it out. So by definition, you're incomplete, right? Because you had something that now you no longer have within you. Now it's outside of you, and you have to like come together. So even though man was like in this complete state, he was alone. But by God taking a part of what was in man outside, now man had companionship. But in order for man to find purpose and fulfillment, he had to come together with the woman to find completeness. So as men, like we're suffering from incompleteness without, a woman specifically, just women in general, but specifically if we're not called to a life of celibacy and a life of singleness, and we are, given the license essentially to, marry, it's like, man, like that's what we need in order to be fulfilled. That's why they're called, a suitable helper. You know what I mean? Because they've been fashioned in order to help us fulfill God's purpose for us. And I just thought that I've never looked at it like that before, where it's just like, man, God took something out. So just by default, now you're missing something that you once had. And it's now in this other representation of man that now I have to find a way to become, to your point, Q, harmonious with. You know what I'm saying? In the midst of all the different ways we communicate, in the midst of all the different frustrations, I got to find a way to reconnect so that now I can find completeness. So for me, that was just like a boom, like that was a mic drop moment for me. That was like powerful. Afari, did you have anything else? You wanted to go in? You good? Okay. All right, cool.
all right, well, let me take his time then. Let
You
me
gonna
take his
take
time. I think
it?
I got one thing. I think I got one thing.
All
Let me
right.
hear what. So on 180, like, I feel like that last two sentences was so powerful. Like, it says a reacting person does what is irresponsible by becoming angry or resentful at another's behavior, but a responding person takes responsibility by seeking to understand the other person by speaking the truth in love. Like, so, like, if we are a reacting person, we gonna always respond irresponsibly. We gonna always respond wrong. But
Yeah.
if we are a responding person, like Chance said, we gonna take the time to maybe let a day go by, like, and
Right.
then come in the right love, come in the right manner, and then what's gonna happen is you're gonna be able to speak the truth in love. Like, so, like Gafari was saying, butter the biscuit up, surround it with love, huh? Make it easy to eat, make it easy to consume, and then now you can come with your grievances or what you feel like. So I love like how he ended it all. I love this chapter in general, like you said. It was
Yeah,
just
man.
fire, and
Fire.
it was so much information in it, and so much ways for us to start looking at ourselves,
Yeah.
and even for our wives, if we can get them. I told my wife, I need you to read this chapter. This chapter. After I'm done with this, I want you to take it and let's read this chapter and let's go ahead and discuss it. Like, 'cause I feel
Yeah.
like this chapter more than any of the other ones, and I'm not taking away
Yeah.
none of the other ones, was one
Yeah.
that can easily be
Yeah.
digested on both sides and be an
Absolutely.
easy bridge for us
Yeah.
to really find love and know how to deal with each other so that it's not always me versus you versus me, wrong motives, like, but
Right.
understanding that we can't be reactive, we got to be responding. Like Chan said, one person coming hot, two people can't be hot. Huh? One person gotta decrease, huh, in that moment, huh? Like, and all it does is help the relationship to flow, like you said, harmoniously, or one. Like, so when I hear that people come in one, now I look at it in a totally different matter of understanding what it is. Like, it's knowing how to pull back. It's knowing when and when not. Like, one is literally understanding that y'all one flesh and y'all need each other to complete each other. And if y'all move harmoniously, then you will do exactly that. So I love that.
Super good, man. Super good, fellas. Well, this is always great, man. I'm just loving it. Loving, man, where we're going with this.